Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is Wacky Wednesday, and on Wacky Wednesdays we tell wacky stories and you decide if this is a true story or if it's just a wacky story and it's not true and I just made it up. But before we get into that video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, leave some comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to ring the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you'll know every time I make another video. So this week, this Wednesday, we are going to be talking about the cursed vacation. So there was these three girls. They wanted to go on vacation. They worked really hard during the week, and one of them was a mother, and they were just dying to get away and go on a nice little vacation, just three of them. So they chose to go to a little town in Morocco's, and in that little town there was a nice resort, and they stayed there, and it was an all-inclusive resort where they got food and drinks, and they didn't need to leave the resort for anything because there was a beach there was pools, there was food, there was absolutely everything they needed in one place, so they wouldn't have to leave and go to the towns of Morocco to look for stuff or whatever, so nothing would happen to them and they would be safer. However, these three girls, they had so much fun there. They decided they wanted to go out and find a little shop to buy some souvenirs to share with their other friends and their kids and their boyfriends and whoever, the mothers or whatever. So they decided to go to these little shops, and they decided to get a little map of this city, and they went out looking for like treasures in the city of Morocco's, which is a really nice city. They dressed up really comfy and decided to go for a walk wearing their walking shoes. So they ended up leaving the hotel and walking to town. And they found various shops with very pretty things inside. One of the girls' name was Rose, and Rose went into one of the shops and she found something that was similar to a Ouija board, but it looked more antique. It was on a board. It was like a wooden board, and the board was like handwritten letters and handwritten numbers on it, and everything was just like, it was beautiful. It was engraved. Everything was like handcrafted. So it was a really pretty Ouija board. However, the lady that owned the shop told her that that Ouija board has been there since she opened the shop, and that she's never gotten rid of it, she's never sold it, and that she was a little afraid to sell it because she didn't know, she heard that these things were cursed and this was a really bad thing. But Rose didn't believe in that stuff. She just liked it because of the way it looked and because it was antique and because it was very, very pretty and it was handcrafted. So she decided to pay whatever it was to get it. So she paid the lady, and she decided to take this Ouija board back to her room. The other girls were in another store picking out some other stuff, so they didn't even see what she picked out. And then the woman wrapped it in some newspaper and put it in a bag and gave it to her. So they shopped some more, and they went to more shops, and they kept going, and they found beautiful clothes and beautiful scarves and all those beautiful things you find in those foreign places where we all don't come from, where we want everything from jewelry and all of that pretty stuff. So they end up going back to the room, and when she got to the room, she had so many bags she forgot that she had the Ouija board. So she put everything down, and they decided to go down to the nightclub because the hotel had a nightclub. So they went down to the nightclub and they started dancing, and they had a great time. And when they came up, they had a couple of drinks already. So she remembered that she had the Ouija board, and she said, "Hey guys, I want to show you something that I bought in the city today." So she came out with the Ouija board, and the girls are like, "Oh no, what are you doing?" Like, one of the other girls, which was Jessica, she believed in this stuff. She knew that it wasn't right to play with these kind of things. Well, in her mind, she thought that. So she was like, no, put that away. That's too scary. Where'd you get that from? Why'd you buy that? Why didn't you tell me? I would have told you not to buy it. And so Rose was like, oh, come on. It's just a game. It's not even real. Look, this is made by a person. It's handcrafted. So they all sat down and they were looking, at this Ouija board, and it was so pretty. And they decided, hey, let's ask a question. What could be so bad? So they start asking, is there anyone in this room? And they get no answer. They're like, hey, is there anyone in this room? Does anyone want to tell me anything? And they get no answer. And along with this Ouija board, they came a little rock. It was like a triangle rock, and the rock had a hole in the middle, which would let you see the letters or whatever it was on the Ouija board. So they're asking questions, and the rock hasn't moved. So then they're like, one of the girls joking around says, hey, you want a shot? And all of a sudden, the rock starts moving and it goes to no. And they're like, oh, come on, why did you move it? They're all blaming each other for the movement. And they're like, oh, we're not even gonna play with you anymore because you're acting stupid. And they put the thing away and they went to bed. The next day they had a great time. They went upstairs, they went to breakfast in the morning. and then they went to lunch, and then they wanted to go out to this restaurant. So at the restaurant, they met this guy, and the guy was interested in Rose. He was looking at her, and he kept eyeing her and following her around and trying to talk to her. And then finally she ended up saying, hello, what do you want, or whatever. And he's like, I've never seen a woman so beautiful as you. And you know, he's sweet talking to her, and she loves the accent that he has, so she like right away falls for him. So she's like, yeah, I'm from Canada, and I just came here on this trip, and you know, I wanted to, you know, see this town or this city. I wanted to see the city. And so he asks her if he could show her around the city, and she agrees. So they go around the city, they drive around, he's showing her all the beautiful places. And so eventually she, you know, tells him tomorrow we're leaving, and they end up getting on the plane and going home. She didn't hear from the man anymore as of right now. So she gets back home, and as soon as she gets home, a weird feeling. It's like an uncomfortable and uneasy feeling in her own home, and she just doesn't understand why. So she looks around, and she feels like she's not alone, but she is. She looks around, there's no one there. So a couple of weeks passed by, and everything is fine. She had put that Ouija board away, and she forgot she even had it. She back to life, back to normal, back to her job. The other girls went back to their families, and so a couple of weeks later, she hears from her friend Jessica, and Jessica's like, oh, something happened to Brenda. And she goes, what do you mean something happened to Brenda? Brenda was the other girl that went with her on the trip, which was her best friend since like junior high school. So she goes, what happened to Brenda? What do you mean something happened to Brenda? She goes, well, Brenda's in the hospital, and her mom called me and told me to come over there. So she's like, okay, I'm coming with you. She leaves her office and she goes over there to the hospital where Brenda is. The doctors tell them that Brenda was in a fire and Brenda got burned. So they want to see Brenda, and they're dying to go inside the room, and they're like, we're not gonna let you in the room, you know, you can't see her right now, she has to have a couple of surgeries done. And so they're like, we just want to see her just one time before she goes in surgery, please. So the doctor tells her he's gonna give them 3 minutes to go in, and just one of them. So Rose decided to go in because they were best friends since they were small. So she goes in and she sees Brenda, and Brenda opens her eyes and looks at her and starts screaming. She's screaming so loud that eventually the doctors come in and I have to take Rose out, and Brenda goes into cardiac arrest and she dies. So they're mourning the loss of Brenda, and they don't understand what's going on, what happened, how did the fire start. You know, they don't know what happened. All they know is that she was in the bathroom in her house. Her house went on fire, and she was found in the bathroom. So that's it. You know, she died. They did her funeral, and it was really sad because Brenda had a husband, she had a kid, and it was really sad that she passed away so early because she was just 32 years old. So anyway, a few weeks pass, and then again, Rose has that the uneasy feeling that something's wrong. And then she gets a phone call, and the phone call is Jessica, and Jessica's screaming, help me, Rose, help me. So she's like, I don't know what to do, like, what's happening? And she's like, help me, please, don't let him get me. And she doesn't know what's going on. So she runs off, she gets in her car, she drives over to Jessica's house, and when she gets there, Jessica is hung by a tree in front of her house. So she calls the ambulance, and the police comes over, and Jessica is dead. Someone killed her. They don't know who killed her, but they know that she's dead. So then, you know, they do the funeral for her. It's really sad. They don't understand. They're trying to figure out what's going on with these girls. And Rose, all of a sudden, opens up her computer one morning, and she finds a strange email. And the email says Moroccan Prince. And so she opens it up, and it says, hey, this is the guy that you met in the restaurant in Morocco's. And she goes, oh, hi, how are you? And he goes, you want to return that Ouija board now? And she's like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, I heard about what happened to your friends. I saw it on the news, and it's unfortunate because you picked up that Ouija board from that shop. And she goes, well, what do you mean? And he goes, that Ouija board is cursed. And she's like, she closes her computer, she gets scared, and she just doesn't know what to do. So she goes away from the computer, she walks away, she walks around for a little while, and then she comes back and she writes him back, and she goes, what do you want? What can I do? And he goes, the only way to get rid of the curse is to hand the curse to someone else. And she's like, well, what do you mean, hand the curse to someone else? He goes, well, this Ouija board has been living for ages and centuries, and it's been killing people, and the only way you get rid of it is to give it to someone else, but it's gonna cost you. And she goes, what do you mean it's gonna cost me? He goes, you have to give it to someone that you love. So if you don't want to die and you don't want more people to die, you have to let someone you love die. So she leaves, she closes the laptop and she goes to her bed and she thinks about it and she's really scared. And so she starts talking to her friend from years ago. His name is Brian. She tells Brian, I don't know what to do. This. She tells him the whole story and Brian is like, well, you're gonna have to give it away. And she goes, no, I can't give this to someone. How can I give this to someone that I love? So he's like, you have to do it. And then he goes and he looks online and there's a story about this Ouija board, and it's a story about the Ouija board that they kept giving it to people and giving it to people, and then one woman stayed with the Ouija board in her shop, which was the lady from the store, and she had her husband died and she ended up putting away the Ouija board and not playing with it. This Ouija board was sending demons their way because it was an open door. Anyway, so she ends up calling her sister, who is the only family she has. She calls her sister, and her sister is the only person that she loves in the whole world. So she calls her sister, and she's like, hey, can you come over? I have to talk to you. So her sister comes over, and her sister is like the best person. She's so sweet. She comes over. She goes, but I brought you back a gift from Morocco's. And she's like, really? She goes, yes, I got it at a little shop and I thought it'd be perfect for you. And she gave her this package and she goes, but don't open it till you get home. It's a surprise. So the sister's like all excited. She takes the bag, she gives her sister a kiss, and she leaves her home. And when she gets home, she opens up the package and it's the Ouija board. Anyway, guys, that's the end of this video. Let me know in the comments if you think this is a true story or if this is a wacky story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I love you guys. I see you guys in my next video. Bye.